We have 3 levels of experience on Legendary Tactics with this game. Someone who's played it quite a bit, someone who's played it a tiny bit, and I just had my first experience. Today, we'll share all of our thoughts on the game Final Girl. This is Legendary Tactics.
All right, so we played a little bit together.
We had our first group playthrough.
Yeah, so first blush
and I played it a
more.
bunch of times, yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's start with you. First impressions.
First impression, I liked it. I'm not generally a solo gamer, but this is one that, for me, a solo game has to be a puzzle, and it needs to be something that challenges me. I like to lose my first game. That being said, we didn't lose, but it felt like we were going to lose, and it felt like everything went our way.
Yes.
And that isn't always the case. But then right away, I'm looking at this board going, we can just amp that difficulty up, and I would definitely lose my settings.
Multiple times.
So is there a skill factor? I think finding the right balance of cards at the right time based on what the board state is and what order the tarot cards come out in, that completely changes the game. But for me, I love how you're trying to figure out the best order to buy cards in, the best order to spend them. And I mean, there's 2 currencies. One is time and one, you've got your cards. And for me, as a solo game, I think this is a hit. I want to play it more.
Yes.
I want to try some of the expansions. And yeah, I say thumbs up.
Okay, great. Cax.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea that you mentioned about the cards being sort of twofold. You're using them as currency. You're also using them as card ability. I like that you have varying levels of success from 0 to 1 to like a 1-star to a 2-star. I also really like the whole dice mechanic here, where you're having to watch your focus track and basically making sure that you're, in this case, a 4 and above. And you're
4 and below. Is that the horror track?
Oh, sorry, 4 and above. Right. But keeping it in the green zone anyway, or the green,
at least the white
preferably
zone.
green, or white, and keeping your dice roll heavy. The whole killer tracking the
meeples, the campers in this case,
doing that. That's a neat. It's got a neat feel to it. So yeah, I think it hits on a lot of good points.
Yeah.
Now, you've played this scenario about 5 times.
Yeah. So I haven't. I bought 4 of the what do they call them, the expansions, but they're the chapters or whatever. Right. I bought 4 of them at a thrift shop for like $5 each. I had to go out and buy the core game so I could actually play this. But I just focused on learning this one. But I have a Poltergeist one. There's one called Dr. Fear, and there's another one that I can't quite remember. But anyway, they've got different settings. The maps will be different. The enemies will be different. The decks are different. So it's going to play out very differently.
So 2 questions for you. 1, will there be enough difference between this game and those other chapters? 2, are you forced to buy the other chapters to keep the game fresh? I mean, once you've beaten this a couple of times, is this something that's just going to sit on your shelf?
That's a good question. I think it's got a lot of replayability. There's a lot of variability with the setup, the items that are available, the enemy. Like these are the random. They've got the dark powers. You can play difficulty levels. You've got a different finale. So there's a lot of replayability here for sure. I think there's enough to justify, but I'm sure they really want you to like the game and therefore buy more of the expansions. And they actually play it in seasons. They actually release a bunch of them where there'll be 4 games or whatever in season 2 and so forth. So I've played the game a fair bit. I really like it. I think that this whole planning phase is really neat, and there's a lot of really neat mechanics, which you've already mentioned. The only thing is, the game is very luck dependent, and if your dice are cold, you will have a very short game and it won't end well.
And it's not really your fault.
Yeah, and it's not really your fault. I think that part of it can be redeemed if you think of this as more of a narrative game that is telling a story, and you're just trying
Unfortunate accidents will happen.
Yes, but you're telling a story and it plays out, and I think it does really well for such a small board, and everything just is very compact. It doesn't have a big footprint on the table. I think it's very well done for what it is.
I should mention too, I really like the little carrot that they do drop So when you win a scenario with a certain character, for example, we just went with Lori, so we got to open up for Lori's eyes only.
Yeah.
And it says, do not open until you have survived a game with Lori.
You'll have to watch our playthrough if you want to see what's in there.
And, there is
And that is at the end of the video when we do offer spoiler.
That's right. So if you want to check that out, please,
Yeah.
But I do think that carrot is kind of a nice way to sort of say, hey, win it. Find out what's behind door number 1.
Yeah.
Right? And there's actually one for each of the characters.
Yeah. And I like the little touches that tie it into the horror genre, like the little mysterious health. The last health is a mystery. Will it actually will the creature come back to life or not? Or, there's a bunch of things that are kind of very...
Or even Hans the Butcher changing his strength levels, right? When he starts out normal and then becoming more powerful.
Yes, becomes more powerful.
Jacked up.
If he goes after enough campers.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I really like the it definitely knows its genre, and it has some neat little touches that make it.
Now, this is the question I want to actually direct to you. Thematically, you're a thematic gamer.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're at Camp Happy Trails? Do you feel like you're immersed in a serial killer is on the loose,
around.
killing people? Did the narrative draw you in?
Partly, yeah. I'd say it was like 80% hit home there. Like I did kind of like the meeples are kind of nondescript little yellow blobs, and the us and the final girl and almost indistinguishable, but for color. So I mean, I think they could have done a little bit better there as far as that. But I mean the storyline, like the cards did, I think, for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Did. Like the furious strike, the retaliate, the critical blow that we were kind of obsessing over, right, and using. So yeah.
I would agree with you. My one critique of the game is that this does not feel like a murderous killer to me. It looks like a cute little happy meeple.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't like the meeples personally. The hearts I'm fine with. They look nice. I think that works. But I feel like they could do much better. Like especially if you're buying a special kit. Like let's get a meeple that looks like that shape instead of like a lady in a dress.
True. Yeah, true.
So
good.
Okay, so would that be maybe a drawback for you?
That's absolutely my criticism.
But what's the final verdict, though, Cax?
I have two little things I wanted to mention before that. Number one, I find you mentioned the board, and I feel the board is a little small. I would like a bigger board.
It's meant to be, I think, a portable game, right?
Portable, but and also you talked about it being like a DVD case, so I understand what they're going for, but I don't know. I just feel like a little more meat on the bone there.
Yeah. Right.
Also, the luck dependency of the game. So, final verdict though, I would play it again.
Yeah. Good.
Yep. Yeah, I would say so too. Meeple's criticism. I like the gameplay. I actually had some fun playing it two-player.
I think it's fun as a team, actually.
Yeah, as a solo-only game, I think this would absolutely work. But also playing it, it was mostly you teaching and the two of us playing. But I felt like it was fun where we could debate back and forth. Should we do this? Should we do that? I think that worked well. But I would love to see a multiplayer component where, like Horrified, where you're both working cooperatively to try and solve that same puzzle. So I could see that expansion potentially working.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great game. I'm glad I stumbled upon it, and it had been on my radar. Some people have listed it as one of their top solo games out there, and I can see why they would enjoy it. But it's just the luck part does hold me back a bit. But other than that, I think it's a great game.
Excellent. Thanks for teaching us. And we're going to put it a top 10 solo games list so you can see where this one ranks amongst our picks. And we'll link to that one in the description. But in the meantime,
get out there,
get gaming,
and be legendary.